Welcome to the conversation part of the Upper Bowl podcast. We have the host of Spits and Suds, which can be heard on all podcast platforms via 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, Texas. They discuss all things Dallas Stars and other league happenings with great guests. Doesn't matter if it's Robert Tiffin, Sean Shapiro, Leah Onkopoulos, Ralph Strangis, and so many more. He's a recurring guest of the pod. He is the hockey hawk, as people call him. I like to say he's also a friend of the program. Gavin Spittle. Gavin Spittle, welcome back to the pod. How are you doing, by the way?
Absolutely. Yeah, friend. Absolutely. I'm doing great.
Definitely. As I like to say, it's NHL season. I always say when American Thanksgiving comes around, this is when every casual hockey fan checks in. This is when my downloads go up anyways.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're 20 games in, so it's seems like yesterday, but it's going to move quick.
I know, definitely. And we have an Olympic break as well coming. So what has been your thoughts so far after these 20 games as we had we're gonna have this is on this Wednesday. We're gonna have like a loaded slate before the Black Friday slate, I like to call.
I think if you don't follow hockey and you come in for the first time, you're not going to realize, and you're gonna be like, oh, that's a cool story, because there are teams that are doing things that people are not used to, and therefore they're either thinking it's a fluke when in actuality these teams are have been building. Talking about Anaheim, talking about Seattle, talking about the Chicago Blackhawks, teams like that, the Mammoth, teams with young cores that eventually were going to pop, similar to what we saw with Ottawa last year, where it was the first time it's like, okay, Ottawa cracked through in the playoffs. I think this year is going to be, but if you follow hockey, I don't know how much of a surprise it is that the Anaheim Ducks are where they are, because they are stacked. They've done a great job building that roster. They have some absolute beasts. And they're much better defensively than they get credit for. DeStahl is a good goaltender. So, they have the makings. You do have teams like the Kings that are in the wild card right now, but they'll probably move up. So you have like 4 or 5 teams that around, right now are just still trying to figure out where am I at. And, specifically the Central Division is one where it's like, you have your regular top 3 up there, but is Utah going to climb up? Is Minnesota going to climb up?
Is Chicago going to come up anyways?
Chicago going to come up? Yeah, I mean, maybe Chicago's one more year away, but they're tough right now. They're a tough team to play. Stars have not faced them yet, so interested to watch that matchup.
I think when I looked at the whole West, I like to say besides Anaheim, I saw them sweep the Florida Panthers in a shootout, and I like to say a nice 7-3 gong show on a Tuesday night in Anaheim. Anaheim is a fun team to watch, and I feel like they have like some really nice pieces. They finally figure out the goalie situations. They'll Gibson, like, Gibson, we love you. Let's get the young kid a try anyways of Dostal, which I think he's been performing very well.
Yeah, he's very good.
He's very good. And plus, I picked him up in fantasy hockey. He's like, what could go wrong? Let's see how he does. And I feel like you have some teams in the West, like you have your perennial power teams, which is like Colorado, Vegas, Dallas, LA's around there, but you have some young youth, which I always feel like the West really needs sometimes. With youth, that comes out, you're missing out on the star player like the Edmonton Oilers, but I'm more excited that Chicago's, they look fun to watch, which we haven't said in almost a decade plus anyways. And I feel it's good for the Central Division, because I feel like we've never have seen Dallas and Chicago ever in our lifetime be good at the same time. Can we say that?
Yeah, I think for a while they probably were. It was more when Dallas was in the Pacific Division, but in the Central, since they've both been in the Central, no.
I feel like it's good for the league, especially you have Dallas, Chicago, Colorado. Those are like all 3 old school Western Conference hockey teams. Like, it's good to have those 3 brands great at the same time. And if Chicago's for real this year, I think it'll be great for like the long term of the Central. Like, you have 3 perennial teams, and you have content with Connor Bedard, who's the first overall pick. You have Mikko Rantanen, Wyatt Johnson, and Jake Ottinger in Dallas, and you have Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar in Colorado. That division is like star television. Your 9:30 or your 8:30 game on ESPN or TNT for the next couple seasons, anyways.
Yeah, Trevor, you asked me about like there are some great stories that
Yeah.
I think when we dive into the first 20 games, Spencer Knight, what
Yes.
he's been able to do in goal is awesome. Leo Carlson, a guy that no one's talking about, but is going to be in the MVP race.
Oh, yeah.
28 points in 21 games. I mean, the guy's a beast. And what's interesting about a team like Anaheim is you look down and about, let's see, 7 down is Mason McTavish. Well, that was one of their top picks. And that's how you build rosters. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in they're picked high, therefore they have to be elite. And I'll give you the primary example that no one thinks of anymore. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is so valuable for Edmonton and a two-way player. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was the top pick in the NHL draft. So we think I believe he was number 1, wasn't he?
Yes, he was in the 2011 draft.
So everyone thinks if you're number 1, you have to be the next Connor Bedard or Connor McDavid. But the reality is that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is so valuable for the Edmonton Oilers, but people forget where he was drafted. And that's how you build depth. Anaheim, another example. You got Leo Carlson. You got Cutter Gauthier.
Great trade.
Great trade for Anaheim. Another great trade, picking up Chris Kreider.
Yep.
All he does is score goals.
Yeah.
So you look at that. And then there's Mason McTavish, who you signed to a long-term deal. Well, we forget Mason McTavish was one of the top picks in the drafts a few years ago. Now he's healthy, and you see him, and it's like, well, he's 21 games, 14 points, but he's so valuable. And they now have depth. Mm-hmm. And that's how Edmonton made it to all these Western Conference finals and Stanley Cups. They have depth. And when the LA Kings went on their cup runs, they had depth. And it is about good goaltending. But at the same time, like we look at these stars, and that's why I'm saying maybe it's another year for Chicago. Maybe it's another year of adding pieces to get that depth. And, the Dallas Stars, for example, they are beleaguered with injuries right now.
Oh, yeah.
But they're doing it. And part of the reason is, if you look at last night's game, Colin Blackwell scores. They are getting depth scoring on a regular basis, and that is alleviating the Mikko Rantanens, who's on a tear, the Jason Robertsons, things like that. I mean, these guys are on a tear, but it's nice when those third and fourth liners contribute.
Definitely. I think I was at the Florida game on a Saturday for the Dallas game. It was like they're the bottom 6 guys, but they're young guys who are contributing to the team anyways. I look like that's how you win hockey games. And when you need a big goal, you have Mikko Rantanen making a goal to tie it up to send it to overtime at least.
Yeah. One of the better stories for Dallas right now is Justin Ritzkovian.
Yes.
2 years ago, Justin Ritzkovian was playing for Northeastern. He was the captain of Northeastern University. Then he is signed as a free agent and joins the Texas Stars. Well, he goes and wins AHL Rookie of the Year. So he came up for about 10 games with Dallas. He was fine. Mm-hmm. And then this year he was called up, probably should have made the roster, but Dallas is limited as far as how many players have two-way contracts. So he was sent down, came back up, with injury. Now it's going to be tough to get him out of the lineup. He's paired on the third line with Oscar Beck and Maverick Bork, and it's just a hustle grind line, and it's creating some opportunities. Got the first goal of the game last night. So I think, when you look at those players too, it's all about the superstars. That's what makes this league special, but there are some cool stories. I mean, I know this is primarily about the West.
Yeah.
But Josh Doan in Buffalo, I mean,
yes,
we can talk about that trade for Utah, with Peterka, but at the same time, it's like, I think Buffalo made out pretty good too, because Michael Kesselring's a heck of a defenseman now that he's healthy, and Josh Doan is really playing some solid two-way minutes. So I think, there's some really interesting stories thus far.
Definitely, for sure. I think the other big story is the San Jose Sharks. They're actually fun. They're a fun late night team to watch. Like if you need someone to watch, like the ESPN Plus game, they've Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith. They have a goalie. They've got pieces there, and I look at it as like, well, like we may have like some of the old perennial power teams coming like they got their act together with the drafting and stuff. I'll say
Absolutely. Like people are going to be like, "What are you talking about?"
yeah.
But if I said to you, must watch is Anaheim San Jose, that is a fun matchup of young talent for years to come. You're right. They're much more solid. I think Mike Greer's doing an outstanding job building that team from the ground up. I think they picked up some real nice veteran pieces. I love the Ryan Reeves aspect. I think he brings an element to the room that they might not have had. And by the way, Macklin Celebrini can skate a lot freer. People can say whatever they want about old school hockey's dead. I know if I was a scorer, and I know for a fact Sidney Crosby liked it when Ryan Reeves was in that room. So, I mean, there are those aspects of old school hockey that still exist, in my opinion.
Same too. I just think that it's just when you look at like now people say Anaheim, San Jose, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, like it's an awful matchup to watch. Like
Yeah.
now it's like you have good coaching, then you have a great bench boss in Joel Quenneville versus the young guy in San Jose, and Anaheim has a nice amount of adults on their roster to help out the young kids move it along at least.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Chris Kreider, from a leadership point of view, is wonderful. I mean, yeah, I thought Alex Killorn is a good pickup.
Yep.
Like they have some solid vets on that team. So, I think they're ahead of what they thought they'd be. I think now they have to be careful. How much or do we want to add and do we want to give up? This is a pivotal time for these transition, and Chicago is the perfect example of signs of getting good. And so you picked up all these vets, and now all of a sudden you had to start over. So you had to deconstruct and start over. So I think that's one of the things that they're probably looking at in Anaheim. Same thing, Vegas has kept up, even though pretty amazing. They've given away a lot of prospects to stay in the game.
Yeah.
So, Seattle got off to a big start, and then they kind of had to rebuild and trade some of their pieces. So, it's interesting because you want to be in the mix. You want that playoff gate. That is so important, that playoff gate for the owners. But at the same time, you can't mortgage your future.
Definitely, for sure. I think if there's any team that doesn't want to mortgage the future, but I don't know if they're going to. I think Chicago's future is like, I know the Blackhawks would love to get that playoff gate again, but if they keep it on track, I feel like we'll be seeing them for a long time, like what they did in the early 2010s. When they finally, like late 2000s, early 2010s, they can probably do it again. What they did before, anyways, would be great, anyways. So
yeah, especially when you look at the currency they have as far as draft assets. I mean, they are absolutely stacked in the future, as far as like draft picks. So, they can certainly build and at the same time be strong. So they're interesting. They're an interesting team. I think what they battle against is relevancy in their own town.
yeah,
And, this is an original six team. This is a team with a ton of history. This is a team with cups. This is a team that everyone, is this the next Patrick Kane? Is this the next Jonathan Taves? Different things like that. So, I think that's what they have to fight, is just be, make sure that you're pacing yourself. And, it takes a few years to learn how to win and to build.
definitely, for sure. It's not an overnight express. It's on Amazon Prime delivery. It's like
Yeah.
it's like writing a book almost, I like to say. Learning how to win. Who has been your most surprising team in the West, especially for the Central Pacific? I'm gonna give you my picks. Chicago, Anaheim are my two obvious ones, in San Jose. I like the Minnesota Wild. I think that I've been tuning into those guys, the Wild, the most, because I enjoy watching Krill Kaprizov. What about you, by the way?
I think probably I wouldn't say it's a surprise, because on Spits and Suds I had Anaheim.
We had it set. We said it on here too. Also,
Yeah. I'm actually surprised Utah is. I mean, they're 1 point out of the wild card, so
yeah,
it's not like it's a panic situation. But I thought I had Utah being in the top three, and I'm confident that they could still get up there. Surprise, I think Seattle Kraken are taking people by surprise. I don't think people expected. I think the other surprise, Edmonton falling off like they have.
that's my
to
biggest
start the season. Yeah, I think that's a surprise. We were joking about this yesterday on Spits and Suds. Edmonton has lost its grit, kind of.
Yes.
And that's fascinating because do you need grit to win? And I look at all the past Stanley Cup winners, and I do think, I mean, Florida has grit. Vegas had grit. Colorado, when they won the Stanley Cup, they had Kadri. They picked up Josh Manson at the trade deadline. They were a physical team, and they went on to win the Cup. How about Tampa? They had Patrick Maroon that they acquired. They had a couple of other players. St. Louis, the same thing. It's not like Ryan O'Reilly's small.
No.
So I do think you need that grit. And, but at the same time, like, crazy for people to be talking about Knobloch losing his gig. I mean, that is just, I mean, you went to Western Conference Finals. You've gone to 2 straight Stanley Cups. No, you're fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, this is the same Edmonton team a couple years ago that January 1st, they turned on the Jets.
Yeah. I that's why I'm looking at Edmonton as like, they're disappointing me in the first half the most. Like, they should be at least making a lead, at least in the Pacific Division. But I'm not totally panicking on them yet. I think mine was, people said like, oh, who's supposed to be good? Like, I thought everyone was saying St. Louis would be good. I just didn't know what to expect out of St. Louis, with the Blues, because I don't know what their direction is as a franchise, anyways.
Yeah, they're interesting because they do have a lot of young pieces. For some reason, it's not coming, together. Yeah, Bennington was so good in the Four Nations, and the times that I've watched them, I think they've played some really tight hockey games. It is surprising. I think that's a really good, good selection. Like, why aren't they doing more?
Yeah.
Sometimes the chemistry is just not there. I mean, Nashville is the poster child as far as so much name talent, and it just has never come together. It's weird.
That's the weird one for me. It's like Nashville's like, oh, we were like, oh, raise the banner, right? Like, no, let's wait a little bit. Let's see after 20 games at least.
Nashville, yeah, I think when you look at them, we talk about how come Marcia Show hasn't, how come Steven Stamkos hasn't, is UC Saros really the guy? But all those players mentioned, one thing that is not mentioned is the absence of Roman Josi. And when you have that Norris winning, eat up minutes, calm down guy like Roman Josi, that changes the direction of your team. And, what are the Dallas Stars if Miro Heiskanen goes down? Well, that's why they had Thomas Harley step up. So, I look at that piece as, one of those pieces that could bring Nashville together. I mean, I thought they made a great trade in the offseason, getting Nicholas Hague from Vegas. I really like him. So I think they have some nice pieces. They fascinate me, and I don't understand why they're not better.
I think the big thing was for me is when they traded Ryan McDonagh back to Tampa. I was like, you lost your other pairing defenseman with Josi for me. I feel like that was like the worst move to do. Anyways, I'm not a big fan of Brady Shea. Anyways, I think McDonough's a better defenseman. Anyways, I was like, oh, Brady Shea will figure it out. I was like, no, he ain't no Ryan McDonagh at least. Anyways, we saw his Ranger tenure. Anyways, come on.
Yeah, I think it's a good point by you. I just think the Central Division is so tough. I mean, I think the Western Conference, the Pacific is equally as tough. So it's, parity has taken over the NHL. And one thing that you asked about surprises, I'll just give an overview. The amount of injuries in the NHL is, I think it's alarming for executives in the NHL. They agreed to do this, the compressed schedule, based on the Olympics. We were talking about that on Spits and Suds today. I love Olympic hockey with pros in it, but at what cost? And is it coincidence that you have 8 teams with 5 or more players down? Or is it just part of the compressed schedule? And this is today's hockey. But it's pretty scary. When you look, and it goes back to that, depth. And, when you have so many superstars that are out, and just today with Connor Hellebuck going down and now having to face knee surgery, if I'm Winnipeg, no, you can't go to the Olympics.
I brought this up actually on this another podcast. I was on Cats and Bolts. It's like, would you be surprised if Vinny Viola tells Matthew Tkachuk you're not playing for USA Hockey? But I feel that's be the biggest gripe of that ever happened, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, Kachuk's coming back pretty soon, right?
I think 2 weeks. It says I was
Yeah. So
reports have
that's a
been
little bit
talking.
more time. If all goes well, I have Hellebuck coming back maybe the first or second week of January, and the
Mm-hmm.
Olympics kind of kick off the beginning of February. So, but yeah, I think it's really tough to tell someone they're not going. I think it's dangerous because it happens so infrequently.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that Kachuk and Hellebuck will both be on Team USA.
Now, the Team USA debate's gonna be already fun. I know some people are asking me like, who do you have starting goalies? Like Hellebuck for now, but I would not be surprised if we put Dustin Wolf on that roster already for Calgary at least.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's just, Alec DeBrincat
Yeah,
for Detroit right now is like, I deserve to be on that team, and it's like, okay. I mean, I'm
it's
sure Jason Robertson has something to say about that too.
it's
You
literally
know,
debates of all. It's like who's gonna go to Milan, Italy, and who we're gonna see on Cancun at least. That's what I'm came to
well,
terms.
yeah, I think that's the question is, are you building your team based on names, or are you building with a purpose? Now, the Four Nations, it was built with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that team was constructed to be physical. And so there were some different players than, you might be used to seeing. And it was
Mm-hmm.
extremely effective. So I think that's what's interesting is like, how is Bill Guerin going to build this USA roster? Obviously, scoring's going to be big, but does he want to make it more defensive minded, or is it just one of those things? Pick the best players that are having the best seasons.
Yeah, it's like I think the Lou Lamoriello approach of the '96 World Cup. I always go with how many drummers do you want, anyways? How much physicality do you want? That's what I go by. Is like Bill Guerin. Are you going to go the Lou Lamoriello route, or are you going to go the current NHL route? At least that's what I see.
I think he's going to try to do those plays. That's what makes the Kachuk so valuable, is
Yeah,
because you get both,
yeah,
and there aren't not many players that you can say you get. I mean, I don't know if people understood, in the West and now Team Finland, like how physical Mikko Rantanen is
yeah.
and can be. And
I'm
the
already
kind of
worried about Finland because they don't have Barkov this year, anyways. That's a huge loss for that Team
it's
Finland
a
team.
huge loss.
That's the
Yeah,
one team I was like, if Finland's gonna make some noise, any team in the Olympics is gonna make some noise, it's gonna be Team Finland, and it's like Finland Canada is gonna be a fun matchup at least.
yeah. I still think Finland, when you look at that roster, once again, I mean, I'll just Esa Lindell in, Miro Heiskanen in. Wouldn't be surprised if they paired Mikko Rantanen in,
Mm-hmm.
Mikhail Granlund in, Sebastian
It's
Aho in. I mean, those are 5 players right there. I
Yep,
mean,
Rope
that is
hints too. Also make
Rope
it sick.
Hintz in. I mean, that is a stacked Finland team. So, I mean, is Philip Forsberg a Finn? I have to check on that. I
I'll
don't think he
triple
is.
check. I think he's Swedish anyways, but
Yeah, I think so
he is
too. I mean,
Swedish. He is
okay.
Swedish.
And I mean, that team's stacked too. So, uh, I mean, heck, that's what's so great about this Olympic. I mean, Germany has a
Yeah.
good team. Like, there are teams out of the blue now because of the evolution, popularity of hockey that are in the mix that you're used to be like, oh, that's an easy win. But
Yep.
no, not anymore.
It's gonna be so much fun. Like USA Sweden's gonna be fun. USA Czech Republic, USA Finland, and USA Canada. Like they're all the games are gonna be actually meaningful, and it's gonna be people are gonna be all over edge on their seat anyways.
Yeah. And their USA hockey is coming in waves.
Yeah.
And these kids keep coming. So
Doesn't matter where now. It doesn't matter if it's because ever used to see it's like everywhere in like Northeast, like Minnesota, Michigan,
oh yeah.
Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Chicago, like Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts. Now you're seeing like Florida, Texas,
Yeah.
Arizona, California, which I think has been great. Anyways, plus the migration of how the game is being grown because people like before didn't move around. Now people are moving around. Like, hey, let's play hockey at least. Anyways, and like Dallas
Yeah.
has every metroplex has a sheet of ice. Florida's getting the sheet of ice, which is even better too. Also,
Yeah, absolutely. You look at Horkoff, who's a Pittsburgh Penguins draft pick. He plays for University of Michigan. Sat down with JP Hurlburt the other day. He's tearing up junior hockey for the Kamloops Blazers. He's from Allen, Texas.
Let's go.
So, I mean, it's one of those things where you're right. It's no longer regional. I mean, you go back to 1980 and that Miracle on Ice, that was kids from New England and basically Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Nowadays, it is all over the map, and that's a beautiful thing for this great game.
I also say the help of the 96 World Cup team of USA Hockey and also that 02 and 2010 USA Hockey teams, the most going up against Canada, especially even though USA lost to Canada in 2010, that was still one of the coolest games of all time anyways.
I mean, they have some rich history and, most recently World Juniors capturing those. So, they've been dominant at the junior level. I know that's been a big talk in Canada. So, USA Hockey is really, really strong right now, both male and female.
Exactly right. And plus, my favorite part during Christmas break, it's going to be coming up, USA Juniors and Junior Hockey Tournament, which was probably my favorite thing to watch anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it as well. I like seeing these kids where they're going, and just following, their careers. That's what's really cool.
Definitely for sure. All right, let's talk about the Dallas Stars. Glenn Gullisson 2.0, as we're calling it, is back with the franchise. Well, if the franchise has money, as I like to say, he's got a franchise with money. What's been your thoughts so far in the season so far? And I like to say, getting points between both Florida teams was clutch. I like to say in October. I like to say it's the beginning of end of October, early November.
I don't think he's getting the credit that he richly deserves. Took over a team that semi in flux as far as the last coach was let go due to circumstances that have been well reported as far as the way Pete DeBoer handled some things.
Mm-hmm.
The whole Jake Ottinger situation, some quotes and just trying to get over the hump. So here comes Glenn Gullisson, and he has to do that. Very important. He kept Elaine Nazardine as the defensive specialist, the power play, shorthanded specialist. And then he grabbed Neil Graham from the Texas Stars, who's the other assistant coach. Neil Graham didn't have any NHL boss experience, so now he's getting valuable experience. And it's basically a three-pronged coaching staff. Under Pete DeBoer, it was Pete DeBoer's style, Pete DeBoer everything. Now this is more of a collaboration, and I think that says a lot about Glenn Gullisson. But the calm demeanor of Gullisson, and when you look at some of the moves, he is not afraid to make moves. It's just they panned out so smoothly. I don't think people give him credit. In other words, Wyatt Johnston now teamed with Mikko Rantanen. That used to be Roope Hintz. Well, basically, you took Roope Hintz from the number one center spot and put him at number two. So, and now that's helping Tyler Seguin and others. So Wyatt Johnston and Mikko Rantanen are a very, very good pairing. And so little moves like that, by the way, they've been down between 5 and 7 players.
Yeah.
One of their pairings defensively is an AHL pairing. Those are Texas Stars defensemen, but they're still picking up points. They have not played their best hockey. They've been without Matt Duchene, who is their leading scorer. Hopefully he'll be back in the next week or two. So I think, this is a team that is basically coming up and has not played their best hockey yet. So I would easily give Glenn Gullisson an A. I think he's been terrific. I think the staff has been terrific. That power play, how it's designed, looks completely different. They're using the bumper position in the middle, something that they used a little bit last year, but they're using it a lot now. They're setting picks, which Edmonton was famous for, which they're not getting called for, which is good. So they're doing a lot of things that are subtle, but Glenn Gullisson said they would be subtle. He said he was not going to make massive changes. He also wanted that 1%. And he's been getting it for some of those players. And the hustle and, what they've been doing. They are more physical than they were.
Yeah.
Still probably not as physical as he'd like them to be. And right now they're decimated at left wing, but somehow, some way they're getting it done. I mean, second best team, I think, in the NHL right now, or, definitely second in the West. So, I mean, they're beast right now.
They're fun to watch. As I was watching, like the Florida game. I was watching both Florida games when they played Tampa and the Panthers. I was at the Panther one live. They looked well. They looked more like they played more free when I watched them live in person. It felt more like it wasn't feel like super scripted almost when it was with Pete DeBoer. Almost you have to go here, got to go there. I feel like there's more like freedom of movement, anyways, and the puck was moving a little more. That's how I see it. And when he meant for the bumper thing, I was like, yeah, they're moving it more. And plus, I feel like Glenn is taking some stuff he learned from all of his trips from like the first time in Dallas, his time in under Tortorella, his time when he was Calgary head coach and as also the assistant coach from Edmonton. He's like blending it all together, what type of hockey he wants, anyways, but without making total major changes, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, he was in a tough spot the first time. The club was bankrupt. The NHL was making decisions. You couldn't really trade anybody. You couldn't pick anyone up. So, and he was a young coach that came up. So, I don't think it's fair to like when people equate to the first time around and everything. I mean, but when you look at what this team's been able to do with the injuries that they've had, I mean, he's not going to be in the running for coach of the year because of this team is so consistently good over the last 2 or 3, 4 years. But at the same time, when you look at those factors, he probably should be.
Yeah, I think he should be, but it's like some people's like, oh, there's other people involved, and I was like, we'll figure it out anyways. Do you think Pete DeBoer is going to get another job sometime soon?
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
Do you think I'm trying to figure out if he goes anywhere, where would be one place we can just laugh at? Is like, he went there? You think is it Edmonton? If Oilers fire Chris Knobloch, if he goes there, would that be the most hilarious spot for him to go to?
If Edmonton fires Knobloch, he will be picked up so quick in the off season, or maybe even sooner than that. I'm just looking around and seeing like, what teams are really struggling. Buffalo maybe would be a good spot. I really like Lindy Ruff. But I mean, they're at the bottom of the East.
Yep.
So it's one of those things. But I mean, how many changes can Buffalo make in their coach? But they have a lot of talent. The one thing Pete DeBoer does is he wins.
Yeah.
So if Pete DeBoer is going to take over, you're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think from an ownership standpoint, like a team like Buffalo getting into the playoffs would be massive. Yeah, I think though, I mean, Pete DeBoer is going to be on the Team Canada coaching staff in Italy for the Olympics. So that's his focus right now. But I mean, yeah, I think Pete DeBoer will absolutely get another chance in the NHL.
For sure. All right. A few other things I know I want to talk about. The outdoor game is coming back to Dallas. How excited are you? And do you like how it's going to Jerry World? Or did you think they chose the right spot? Because they did it at the Cotton Bowl the first time. Where did you want it to go the second time if an outdoor game came back to Dallas?
I actually wanted it the first time at AT&T Stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That would have been cool, actually, I felt.
I mean, just because, so I went as a fan to the Winter Classic. And I could tell you, I watched the game on the scoreboard and I paid premium and I was center ice. Maybe this is a Winter Classic thing. I'll be honest, these outdoor games, the sight lines are awful. You're there for the atmosphere. And I was sick of watching the scoreboard. So it just wasn't, it was an enjoyable experience going to the game. It was not my favorite as far as like watching from the seats. So AT&T, I think, accomplishes the following. If you need to, you can shut the roof. If you need to, you can bring down the temperature. It has state-of-the-art suites. So that is currency. That is money. That is something that the Cotton Bowl did not have. So you're going to have all these suites, which is wonderful. Your sight lines are going to be so much better, and you have one of the largest scoreboards in sports. So even if you are way up, you can still watch the game. So you're a part of the action. That's what I like about it. And I definitely think it's a great venue for that. And, kudos to Brad Alberts and his staff. I wouldn't be surprised if the Dallas Stars after this maybe become the first team to play in Mexico to increase their fan base with Latinos and Latinas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and beyond. So they would be the likely team. So things like that. I mean, the Stars were scheduled a couple years ago. I believe COVID hit though to, be a team that went to China.
Mm,
So the Stars are very cutting edge as far as, doing new things, and the success of the game at the Cotton Bowl certainly brought on this game. So I think overall it's a good thing. I mean, AT&T Stadium is easy to get in and out of.
mhm.
It's a beautiful facility. It's perfect.
I have not been to the AT&T Stadium. I've been to the ballpark, the Globe Life Field. I was like, that'd been kind of cool. You put it there at least because it had like the sight lines. I feel like have been cool in the lower level, the suites and stuff have been also kind of cool. Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think doesn't matter if the roof's closed at the end of the day. I mean, they might open it just so they can say it's outdoor, but
yeah,
I mean,
I've been to a few of these outdoor games. I've been to the one in Pittsburgh in 2017 between the Flyers and Pens, and I did the one in 19 for Flyers Pen at the Link. I just don't want it to rain because I went to the one in 19. It started to rain and it was miserable anyway. So if you have no rain, you're good. If it's cold, just don't make
yeah.
it be 50. Like it was the day before was 75 degrees. The next day was 15 degrees and windy. So
Yeah.
that's my only thing. I was like, I don't want a windy game anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think if it's raining, they can certainly close the roof and all as well.
definitely, I just don't want. I just don't, if when I see like indoor big hockey games, I just think of it like at the BC Palace between Vancouver and Ottawa in
Right.
2014, anyways, and it looked weird anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, remember, this one's called the Stadium Series. It's not the Winter Classic. So
true.
a little less pressure to be, that pure Winter Classic. So, I mean, to me, my favorite was the very first Buffalo, Pittsburgh, snow falling, having to get the shovels out to clear the ice. That to me was pond hockey at its finest.
For me, it was at Wrigley Field the first time. Chicago, Detroit, like this is perfect anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I just think it look. I just think it's like some people want to kill the event. I like the event still in the outdoor series. Just choose your spots wisely and make sure it's easy for everyone to get in and out of. Anyways, I always go back to the one at the Air Force Academy, which was a total bleep show. Anyways,
Yeah, I mean, when you're the third or fourth league in this country, why not do bits?
yeah,
Like who cares? Fill the arena. Like that's what it's all about. Bring notoriety. Don't like. I have a problem with traditionalists that oh, this is getting old and everything like that. I mean, the NHL right now is on a tear. There's a
yeah,
reason the salary cap has gone up and will continue to go up. So it's like, you need to maximize that. College hockey is
yes,
booming right now. So like hockey is in good health right now. So continue doing what you're doing. Because hockey in itself didn't necessarily wasn't working for a while, but now you have these faster players. So if it means doing bits, if it means because I mean, like, listen, everyone talks about the Four Nations. The Four Nations was a bit.
yeah.
Like this was an idea of somebody. Nothing was at stake other than pride. And that's what made it so special. So, same thing with Stadium Series. It's unique, it's different. People want to go to it. It becomes something in town that if you're just a passive hockey fan, you're like, you know what? I want to go to that game. Like
Yeah,
for instance, over the Christmas break, the PWHL is coming
let's
to
go.
American Airlines. So it's going to be Seattle and New York because Allison Simpson, she's from Frisco, Texas, and Hannah Bilka is from Capel, Texas.
Okay.
So, and she's on Seattle. So you have two local women playing at the hometown arena, PWHL. That's wonderful. I think it's what a great idea that the PWHL takes some games on the road to
Hmm.
showcase in other cities. That's why Vancouver got a franchise. That's why they're packing the barn. And, I mean, that's what it's
That's
all
awesome.
about.
That is awesome. I think I'm also kind of excited for the Winter Classic in Miami. That's the
Yeah.
one I'm so intrigued because people have asked me like, "Are you going to produce it? You want to go?" I was like, "Let me produce this bad boy because I want to have that under my belt anyways. I produced the Winter Classic just for my pride." And I look at it like I want to see what the sight lines will look like and what people leading up to it are going to do anyways. Like, is TNT going to show up in like with a beach towel and like bathing suit for the Winter Classic since it's in Miami anyways?
Maybe. And if they do, that's awesome. I
Man,
mean, yeah, TNT, the personality that they provided has been amazing. And that in itself is awesome. I mean, they replicated what Inside the NBA did on TNT, and they have personalities with Anson Carter and Paul Bissonnette and King Henrik, and Liam McHugh does such a good job. And, I mean, that's a fun broadcast to watch.
Yeah.
And, I mean, a lot of people don't get to see Hockey Night in Canada, but that's a fun broadcast to watch. And that is a traditional program, but they have personalities. And that's what sports is all about. We tend to forget that. We look at X's and O's and we forget that it's a personality driven. I mean, not to digress, but why is Matthew Schaefer so popular? One of the reasons, he's a beast on the ice, but I compare it to PK Subban. He's really quick. He's got a great shot. He's, everything you want, but he's a master chirper. He talks, he respects the game. PK Subban was very much like that and got on a lot of people's nerves. What PK Subban became a personality. What Matthew Schaefer is doing for the New York Islanders, he's becoming a personality. And that's what hockey needs. The more personalities you have, the more popular your game is.
Plus, he's doing it like Matthew Schaefer's doing it for the third or fourth hockey team in the area, I say, for New York anyways. Because people are like, it's the Rangers, the Devils down, and it's the Islanders, like, or the people say, oh, it's the Sabres too. But it's perfect anyways. Like, nope, not everyone's truly an Islander fan unless you're from Long Island anyways. So it's like you're growing the game that way too also.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, I have them making the playoffs or being just on the wild card, or just, I mean, they have a lot going for them, and they play a very good defensive style as well. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And that's what's so cool about this year is you have teams that normally aren't there. Pittsburgh, what they're doing this year is amazing. They're probably the surprise of the NHL. So you have so many great stories, and you just don't have that typical, like, okay, they're back and they're back. It's like you have some new, fresh teams. Yeah, exactly. Detroit. What a great, I mean, anytime the original six can be back, I'm in.
Like for me, I always say, like, last year is like, we need Montreal in the playoffs. I think you were probably saying too, like, we need Montreal in the playoffs. It'd be great for the original six and everybody's audience, like how crazy the Montreal crowd is. It'll be perfect for the game anyways. And I'd say they delivered this year. They're entertaining as well, unless they're not getting like shut out 7-0 by the Dallas Stars at their trip to Dallas a couple of weeks ago, which was entertaining, I'll say. Yeah,
I mean, Lane Hudson is a superstar. Nick Suzuki is so good. Demidov. They're a really, really good team. They just ran into a hot Dallas Stars team. That's what's so amazing about this Dallas Stars. Sean Shapiro and I were talking about it today. Is this is a fun team to watch because you never know what's going to happen. Of those two games, I said I'd be happy with a point coming out of these two games. They came out with 4. And that just shocked me to go into Ottawa like they did, to go into Montreal like they did. Both were in the playoff standings at that point, and Montreal was on top of the division, and to pull off what they did, I mean, kudos
to that. How big do you think is for the Dallas Stars that Daryl Razor Ray got into the Broadcasters Hall of Fame for the Hockey Hall of Fame? How big would you say that's for the Dallas, for the local hockey fan, would you say?
I think for a local hockey fan, they mean more than just their voice. I think when you talk about Razor, you have to talk about his partner for so many years, Ralph Strangis, who did it for 25 years. Both Razor and Ralph have been ambassadors for the sport. Because when this thing started, people had to be taught about the game of hockey. And so, Dallas wasn't used to it. So they'd go to supermarkets, they'd speak at Lions clubs, they'd do whatever it took. So I think when you look at both of them, Razor's meant much more than just a broadcaster. He has been a pillar in the community. And, I think that's what's important. And, Razor never looked at this as a stepping stone opportunity. He looked at this as home.
Yeah.
So I think, he's beloved. He dropped the puck the other night, got a great ovation. So it's definitely, we're very fortunate here in Dallas Fort Worth with our play-by-play and color announcers. Whether it's baseball with Eric Nadel, who's in the Hall of Fame, Brad Sham was a legendary voice of the Cowboys.
Babe Loffenberg, by the way, too. Big fan of him.
Loffenberg, yeah. So I think that, there are some great names here. And so, the fan base, I mean, listen, I grew up in Boston. So, I mean, I didn't see Johnny Busick as a player, but I remember Johnny Busick as a broadcaster.
Same too.
Johnny Most was the play-by-play announcer for the Celtics, Joe Castiglione for the Red Sox, Ken Coleman prior to that. So many names, and you remember those names. You grew up on those names. You had the blanket over your head as you listened to these people. So it's childhood memories.
Throw on Nesson. You have Dale Arnold and some other guy, and you'll be good to go anyways.
Yeah, it's true.
How big is it for Ralph Strangis and Joe Newendike both getting the Stars Hall of Fame this past weekend? By the way, would you say?
So Newendike said it was really special. He said not every organization does this. I think for Newendike it was really big because he was general manager for a while here, and they had to let him go. And they were going through a transition. That's prior to Jim Nill. So to come back and to be heralded, it is one of the great trades of all time.
Yeah.
Giving up Jerome McGinley. So you gave up Hall of Fame to get Hall of Fame. Too many players have said on that squad they would not have won the Stanley Cup if it wasn't for Joe Newendike. Special. He's in the NHL Hall of Fame, and now he's in the Dallas Stars Hall of Fame. So I think kudos to Brad Alberts and the people involved that created this. It's a terrific way to celebrate names from the past that might not necessarily go in the hall itself. Newendike is the exception, but same with Ralph Strangis. Ralph doesn't live here anymore. So to come back, to get the ovation, I know it meant a lot to him.
Same too. I think, would you say it's like closure now for how bad, like when Newendike took over as Stars GM, which was like 08-09 till 12-13? Do you think it's closure for like what happened when he was in charge of the franchise and now currently, you think?
I just think that I don't know if many people remember nowadays that
I think me and you are the only ones. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, Brett Hull was a general manager at one time too. I mean, they went through general managers.
Yeah.
So there was an interesting time in Stars history. Yeah. I mean, I think at any time, you can come in and be heralded. What was so cool about the speeches about Joe Newendike is everyone talked about how good of a room guy he was, and they would run through a wall for him. So I think, it's a great opportunity to hear about these people and to hear from their teammates how special they were, because we don't know that at the time. We know they're obviously great players and everything, but to hear now that everyone's retired and say how special that person is, they're not going to toot their own horn. It's pretty awesome when their former teammates can.
Definitely, for sure. Gavin, what's going on with Spits and Suds? It's probably my favorite podcast to listen to going and from work anyway, especially those late nights during producing late night hockey games when the Panthers are on the West Coast, I'd like to say.
Well, we're very fortunate. We're having a record year, and I can't thank the people of Dallas-Fort Worth and beyond enough. Love doing the interviews. Love talking hockey. Just got a group of people that really enjoy the back and forth. Excited to hopefully kick off more interviews, coming up. We have, we did Sean today. So, I mean, it's a labor of love, so to speak. And the way the Stars are playing, that's great. I think, hopefully in 2026, I'm going to try to ramping up the interviews more. As much as I did enjoy doing the post games, and I'll still do them. It certainly takes its toll, from the day job, so to speak. So
I hear you.
So I think people enjoy the interviews, whether it's a reporter covering the Stars, or it's a former player, or it's someone from the outside looking in. I love the prep of doing it and finding out these little nuggets that they're surprised that I find out about. So, So exciting. It's been great. And like I said, it's absolutely amazing that when I started this, I had no idea that it would grow to what it is today. And I'm so proud of the people of Dallas-Fort Worth because, I started it candidly as a person who runs a radio station. And this was a way for me to, give them what they wanted, to talk Stars. I didn't think the listener base would come in like they did. And so they've held me to it. So I have to keep producing for them.
There you go. I like to say that with USA Hockey, their Olympics, is there going to be post-game shows for the Olympic hockey team for USA, you think? For USA big games, you think, for the Suds, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, yeah, a little. I mean, we have not solidified plans, but we're going to go down to Texas and we're going to cover the Texas Stars.
There we go.
So we're going to do a little road trip and talk to some of the Stars prospects. I believe Robert Tiffin is going to be joining me. So,
I'm ready for this already. This is about to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to do some interviews together, and it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, absolutely, we'll cover Olympic hockey.
Gavin Spittle, thank you as always. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. I know it's busy. The Cowboys are playing on Thanksgiving versus the Chiefs, so enjoy your Thursday, I like to say.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thanks for having me on.